What's up, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and I've got a graphic novel that I want to talk to you guys about. Fantastic Four Visionaries Volume 2, specifically the John Byrne Visionaries. And a while back I reviewed Volume 1, and I said that I was going to be alternating between the Fantastic Four John Byrne Visionaries and the Walt Simonson Thor Visionaries. So now I'm back with another volume of the Fantastic Four by John Byrne. This collects issues 241 through 250 of the Fantastic Four. And right off the bat, if you watched my review of Volume 1, I said that the first few issues weren't really that good, and then it took a few issues for John Byrne to really get into it, and after that it started to get a lot better. And I think that this volume, it doesn't suffer from that. It's really good right off the bat. It doesn't have the situation of it's really slow getting started because this is Volume 2, and so it doesn't have to worry about getting a good head start before it starts to get good. It's already good because it's had some time to get used to itself, if that makes any sense. I really don't have a whole lot to say here. There's a few different stories here. There's a story that focuses on Franklin Richards, which I've heard that John Byrne really hates Franklin Richards, so I'm shocked that he devoted as much story time to Franklin Richards as he did. So far, in 2 volumes, he's done one major issue that focuses on Franklin, and then he's done a few minor things with Franklin Richards, once in Volume 1 and then once again here. So I've heard that he really hates that character, so that's kind of shocking that he's using Franklin like that here, but that was a nice, fun issue. That's the issue that focuses on Franklin. You might be saying, well, it looks like it focuses on the Invisible Woman. It does, but Franklin is very important in that issue. The one thing I want to talk about here, and I don't know how long this video is going to be because, like I say, there's like 9 or 10 issues collected here, and I don't really want to talk about each individual issue, but one thing that I noticed here that I don't really like a whole lot is that John Byrne seems to be... He suffers from a problem that I think is very important in the Fantastic Four. Mark Millar, way back when he was first doing the Fantastic Four, and I haven't read Millar's run, but I did read or see an interview that he did once when he was working on the Fantastic Four, and he said the Fantastic Four should be the most radical, out there comic book on the stands. And he was talking about in the 1960s, every superhero had a secret identity, and there was a pattern that all superhero comics faced. If it was a male superhero, then there was a female love interest, and they want to tell the female love interest how they feel, but they can't because they're a superhero. That was generally the superhero formula. Well, the Fantastic Four just completely urinated all over that, and it did its own thing. None of these characters had secret identities, except for Johnny Storm for a little while in his own solo feature, and the less said about that, the better. None of these characters had their own secret identities. You had characters who were getting married by like issue 50, and then by like issue 100 they were having a baby, and none of that was ever happening in any other comic book. And then just the sheer plot stuff that was really insane, like a living planet. I don't know if Ego the Living Planet first appeared in Fantastic Four or in Thor, but stuff like that was just insane, and you never saw it in any other comic book. And I feel like John Byrne is kind of... He's not making this comic feel like it's new and radical. The big thing that I've noticed over 2 volumes is it seems like he's mostly just trying to give a big salute to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby stuff from the 1960s. At no point in these 2 books do I really feel like the Fantastic Four is the most insane, radical book on the stands from the early 1980s. And that's not an easy thing to accomplish. I'm not going to say that anybody out there could easily accomplish your book being the most radical book out there, but I feel like if anyone could do it, John Byrne would be one of those people. And instead of really trying to take this book into the future, it seems like he's really mired in keeping this book in the past, in keeping this as an homage to the people who created the Fantastic Four, instead of making it be its own thing. And there's a few glimmers of it being new and interesting and exciting. There's an issue where each of the Fantastic Four, we find out at the very end of the issue, each of the Fantastic Four has a hallucination where the rest of the team died, and that was a very interesting issue, but then it just kind of reverts itself back to normal Fantastic Four status quo. And I don't know if this is going to be a problem that I'm going to keep talking about with each volume. I know that later on in Byrne's run, the Thing quits the team and he stays in outer space on Battleworld. That's after the events of the Secret Wars storyline, and the She-Hulk joins the team. So that's a little bit new, but in this volume, if this was the only volume of Fantastic Four by Byrne that I had read, I would say this feels like a nice, quaint, homey little homage to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. It doesn't really feel like Byrne is trying very hard to make this comic book feel exciting and action-packed and dynamic. That sounds very harsh, especially because I enjoyed this book, and I don't think there's really a single bad issue in this book. It does a lot of stuff that, if you are reading this retrospectively, a lot of it you are very familiar with. Like Frankie Ray becomes a Herald of Galactus in this book, and that's something that I've always known Frankie Ray as being a Herald of Galactus, because way back when I first started reading comics, and I would read comics from the 3 for $1 bin, I found several issues of the 1980s Silver Surfer series in the 3 for $1 bin, and Frankie Ray was a character in that series, and she was a Herald of Galactus. And so, reading this book, it's like, oh, you finally get to see how that happens. And that's kind of a new and interesting twist on the Herald, because, as Galactus says, most of the time he would either pick somebody who has morals, who is going to end up refusing to pick planets for Galactus to eat because they don't want to see an entire planet of people die, or he would pick someone like Terrax the Destroyer, who is evil and ends up rebelling against Galactus for his own purposes. And so it's really interesting seeing Frankie Ray, who is a character who I never really liked in these books, in these 2 books that I've reviewed so far. It's interesting seeing Frankie Ray become a Herald of Galactus, and kind of Galactus saying, yeah, that makes sense, I'm going to let her be my Herald. And that's probably one of the only new and radical things that John Byrne does. But other than that, it's hard for me to explain, but like there's a 2-part story where the Fantastic Four and what's his face, Guardian of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, that guy right there, there's a 2-part story where they fight some Skrulls, and it's a fun little story. It definitely doesn't feel like it needs to be 2 parts, but the Fantastic Four fought the Skrulls in like issue 2 of the Fantastic Four. There's not really anything new and interesting going on with their battle with the Skrulls in this story, and I feel like John Byrne is better than this. He should be better at giving me something new and interesting and exciting. He should be creating brand new villains and new and interesting twists on old villains. And so far, all he's doing is just giving me classic Doctor Doom and classic Skrulls. And, you know, it's good. The whole book is very enjoyable. It's not bad. It's definitely worth your dollar. But I feel like maybe I have a really, really unrealistic standard for this book. I don't know, but like, I feel like John Byrne needs to be doing something new and interesting. He needs to be flipping the Fantastic Four on their heads. He needs to do something that we've never seen before. And part of that, I think, is just that the Fantastic Four, in general, are the same old, same old. If you read the Fantastic Four in the 1960s, and then you read the Fantastic Four now, and then you read the Fantastic Four, say, right after Mark Waid left the book, the team always looks the same, and the adventures that they are facing always kind of look the same. And maybe that's just that I'm kind of getting into Fantastic Four fatigue a little bit in reading these books, but I feel like that these creators need to try harder to make the Fantastic Four new and interesting, instead of just saying, this is what made them new and interesting 50 years ago, let's do more of that. This review is going to feel very negative, and I want to really stress that I enjoyed reading this, but I feel like it's not all that it could be, and I think that's the best way to put it. This book has the potential to be so much more, and this run in general has the potential to be so much more, and maybe Volume 3 is going to surprise me. I really hope so, because I haven't read any more of this run after this volume, so I'm really hoping that Volume 3 is Byrne starting to do his own thing and not do the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby thing. I really hope that that's what we get, but as of now, I'm not very hopeful. This review sounded extremely negative, I know, but I did enjoy this book, and I've said that like 100 times already, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this review and enjoyed hearing my thoughts on this run so far. I will be back tomorrow. No, I will be back Saturday with a review of an episode of Batman the Animated Series, and the following week I'll be back doing more various videos of graphic novel reviews and stuff like that. So I hope that you guys will come and check out those videos in the future, and if you liked this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And that's all I have to say, so I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.